Hello there. Season's greetings. Jerrel here. Let's start things off by taking a cool, refreshing beverage, why don't we? Now, today I wanted to share a bit of the process with you of what it takes to animate a treasure chest so that when the player interacts with the treasure chest in a particular way, the treasure chest will open, and then we can spawn whatever item or reward that we need to. So what I will be starting out with are my graphics, my chest, lid, and my bottom. Now I'll just hide this one here. I have a placeholder graphic here. I'm going to hide that. And this is Unity 2019, but this is something that will work in all versions of Unity that are recently modern and use the standard Unity animation system. That's all I will be using to animate this. I don't need to create animations outside of Unity. It can be all done within Unity itself. So what we have is the bottom part. I'll hide that, and you can have a look at what that looks like. And we have the lid. Now, I'm actually using a double-sided shader. So the standard shader for Unity is not double-sided. This model is not double-sided, and it was originally not intended to have the inside of the chest showing. So I've switched that to the double-sided so that you can see the inside of the chest, and it won't be visible for very long, as it will open and then it will have some special effects and it will spawn whatever item you need and then it will disappear. So we bring our lid back. Now, the difficulty with that is if I click on pivot point, this is the pivot point, that's actually the center, and that won't animate very well, will it? And if I select the pivot point, that does not animate very well either. So what I want to do is make this a child of something that I can use as a pivot point. I'm going to take the bottom of the chest, which I will put in the base here. So this is my template. This will be the template used for all treasure chests in the game, so I don't have to keep reprogramming it. I don't have to use duplicates of the logic. I'm just going to unpack these prefabs completely so they aren't linked to their source model. So what happens now if I try to animate the lid, let's say I want to rotate the lid, it had the same starting point as our graphic itself. So I'm going to take that out. You can put that anywhere just for now. Now the lid is going to be moved into where the hinge is, and that will give us our rotating point. So I'm going to use that orthographic view, and I can see the hinge is right about there. Okay, and that's pretty central to the hinge graphic. I'm going to put that back into our perspective view, and you can see that's where that ends up. I'm going to grab the top of the lid. Now, if I rotate that, you can see that the hinge makes sense, and now the lid can animate as good as you'd want it to be. So I have an animator set up here, and I'm going to bring that in just to show you what that looks like, but that's called graphics, and I actually want to rename that. Okay, and I'm going to name that treasure chest, and that's not, there we go, it showed up just there. Now right now we only have a chest closed. I want to see, let's see, so I had a placeholder, so I currently don't have any, get that out of the way, don't have any data there, right? So I want to add property. This is the default state for the chest. The base I want to have is the position and the rotation and the scale. And that's because I know that I want to animate these three things. We'll do the same for the lid. Position. And rotation. Actually, I'm going to take scale out, because instead of scaling the base and the lid separately, I'm actually going to scale the graphics object itself. So on the transform, I will hit scale. Okay. And there we go. And actually, I'll do position and rotation, because I've decided I really only want the base to have its rotation data animated. I'll just remove this. Let's remove that. And for the lid, go ahead and get rid of the position. So we have the base, get rid of that, scale now. So we only have the rotation for the base and the lid, and the graphics, which is the this object here, which is the parent of those, because I want to animate that. Okay. And so we have this here. We have this animation, and my project is hidden for security and legal reasons. So there's a little bit on screen here that we can't see, but that's all right. Just don't look behind the curtain. What I'm actually doing is selecting that in my project view, and that's my animation called Treasure Chest Close. What I'm actually going to do is press Control D. I'm going to duplicate that, and now I want to have Treasure Chest Open. Okay, and I actually do not want this one to loop, so it will stop as soon as it is finished. Now let's get to animating. This will be the fun part. So we'll select this one here, and I press Control 6. If this window happens to disappear, Control 6 brings that up pretty quickly. So we can see that we don't have access to that new animation, which I duplicated. So what you want to do is Window, and you want to bring up your animator, which is different from the animation window. It can be a little confusing sometimes, but only takes a little bit of practice and you get used to which one is which. So we have open. We're going to add that in, and we want to add a trigger to our parameters, and this allows us to make an animation play. And this will say open. So programmatically, we tell this animator to set to open, and I'll say any state. Actually, no, it'll be simpler if we just go like this. Transition. And we want to make this open. So once open is triggered, it will play the other animation, and it will not have an exit time, which means that it can occur at any time. Now, the fun part. Let's start animating. Control 6 to bring that up. I have multiple monitors here. I have 2 other monitors. So I like to slide these off to the side a little bit. Okay. And so actually, I'll show you what's going on here. Now I can select open because it's part of the animation. I want to select record. And what I will do is actually extend this a bit just so I have more time and more space to work with there. All right, so at its most basic level, what I want to happen is for the lid to open. Yep. I'm going to put this off screen, but you can see that record button is activated, so any changes I make here will be taken into account. All right, and at its very basic level, I want it to open. So let's go ahead and turn that off. Let's hit rewind it and hit play. So you can see what's happened here is I've clicked there because it was zoomed out too far, so I actually didn't get the keyframe. That's not a big deal. We can select those and just move it right across. Go ahead and hit play. So you can see now the treasure chest opens. So it's functional, but it's not very interesting. So what I want to do now is spice things up. When it comes to animation, animation is one of the greatest things in the world in terms of an art form because, whoa, Ah, a spider just dropped down from the ceiling. Hold on, guy. It's not, technically not a spider, is it? I don't know if you can see that. Hold on, I'm gonna put him on my computer screen there. There you go. He can hang out there while I'm working. Ah, almost landed right on my face. Well, he's my friend now. He's on my computer screen. So let's go ahead. And what I was saying is animation is such a great form of art because it allows you to have so much creative expression. There's so much fun, and there's such a sense of style and energy that you can give something when it comes to animation. And animation is absolutely something that should not be squandered. So every opportunity you get, don't over animate, but bring some life into whatever idea or concept it is that you are presenting. So in my mind, the idea is the player is hitting the chest and it's going to open up. So I'm just looking at the scale of time that I have here, and I'm just going to duplicate this. So now we have a period where nothing happens, and then it starts opening. Right? And you can also, it's better to use this actually to click through. So what's going to happen is very quickly, I want the chest to shake. So what I'm going to do is click there, and let's say that it's moved back and maybe a bit like that, and a little bit like that. How about that? Okay. So we can see I've got that there. Now we have a quick hit, and now I want it to rebound and come forward a little bit. So I'm actually going to take double the amount of time that I just spent falling back. I consider that in sort of an impact frame, where in a very short amount of time it moves a certain amount. And then of course I'll play with that and increase the amount of movement in that impact frame. And now we have a sort of a recoil. I'm going to change my transform alignment so it's directly correlated to the transform itself. So we have our recoil, and then I'm going to have a follow through recoil. So let's see, impact, it gets hit like that, which I want to increase now. I can see that it's not quite as much as I want it to be. I want it to be a pretty dramatic impact. Move that up a bit. There we go. So it gets hit. Bring our window back. Okay, it's going to fall. So I think realistically, no, I actually want it to go a little more like that. Okay, and then, dear, we've made changes again. So again, that's sometimes a mistake that I use. I don't use these. It's just a bad habit. So I try to get used to using them more, right? And now I want to, let's see, maybe again I'll double that because I want to show that the momentum of the object is slowing down. So that was the scale of time before, so I'm actually going to go like this. Now I'll flip it back like that. So now it seems like something dramatic has happened to our treasure chest. And so we have it falling back into the position that it was before, but that seems unnatural for it to fall that way. So what I'm going to do is about there. And the reason I put that there is my mouse seems to have disconnected itself. All right, and sorry for the break there. My computer seems to have had a moment to itself, and one of my monitors stopped working just then, so there'll be a little bit of a hiccup in our video. So the reason why I'm selecting to put the next keyframe here is because I want to leave a little room for the animation to slow down a little bit in this area here for the ending recoil to return to its starting position. And now what I want to do is prepare for this animation to start. What I'm actually going to do is copy these frames so I know where I want it to end up. Now I'm still in my recording mode. I want to roll it forward a little bit, bring it up, and we will check our animation now. So we don't need our lid and our base. So let's see how we go here. All right, so you can see it rocks forward, and then it falls back into place. But what I actually want now is it to return to its full position there. And then what I'm going to do is actually rock it back a little bit like that. Now there's going to be a lot of fine tuning that this animation needs to ensure that it's landing right on the edge. So I'll have to shift it forward and backward a little bit as we go. I'm going to switch to global mode now. Let's just have a quick play of the animation. Okay. There's going to be some fine tuning in terms of time scale that I want, but I want it to sort of look like it gets hit and then it's trying to bust open. So that's pretty much what I had in mind. I do want it to be a bit more energetic and a bit more dynamic, but I will work on that. And now I think this part takes too long. So what's going to happen is that there. And I want it to creak open just a little bit in the beginning slowly, and then it's going to snap wide open. So what we'll do here is right here. All right, so as it kicks back, let's see here. All right. Let's see. There. Right, now I've learned my lesson. I'll use that one there. What I want to do is have that lean back just a little more. Have that lean back. And now I actually want the lid. And this is where I need to make sure that I am in the local and not global, as global can cause it to go wonky. So I'll have it suddenly snap open like that, just a little bit. Yeah? And then as it comes forward, it's going to slam shut again. And then it's going to slowly creak open. And it's going to snap. Now there's multiple ways to do that. You can drop another keyframe in there, or you can do that with curves. I'm not a giant fan of curves. There's a time and a place for using curves for big overall movements. In this particular case, I just want to use another keyframe. So what we'll do is just a little bit, we'll creak open slightly and then snap open. So I'm looking at my time scale. This is quite linear here, see? So what I want to do now is when you have a bigger movement in a shorter amount of time, that causes something to look powerful and impactful. And anything up to that point, if it's taking longer, will act as a sort of a wind up and give power to the main movement of the action, the primary movement and purpose of the action. So I've actually gone halfway through that. And so it's going to creak open slightly and then snap wide open. And I hope that builds a sense of suspense. It's going to creak open and then go wham. All right, let's have a look at our animation here. Okay, now I'm looking at the time scale and I'm thinking I actually want this to come forward quite a fair bit. I want more power in that snap. All right, now what we want to do is make sure our lid is fully closed. See, the lid now it starts creaking open. What we want to do is make sure it stays closed until right when we want it. I want it open back there. So let's go ahead and paste that. So now, as you can see, as it falls back, the lid opens a little bit, slams shut as it comes forward, then snaps open just there. Let's have a look. Okay, now we have the concept of follow-through for animation. Now, having it just snap open like that is not very satisfying, is it? So what we want to do is have it snap back, uh, bounce back a little bit, and then fall back into place. Because that itself is not very satisfying as a form of animation. So what we want to do, what I'm going to do, is I'm just going to copy this frame. I'm going to paste it here, so I know now we have that time scale there, and that's maintained. What we're going to do is bring that forward a little bit. We're going to have it bounce up a little. Okay. Bounces up. Okay. I actually want it to fall back a little farther than the resting position to give it a sense of springiness. Okay. And we are just going to, now you generally don't want very even a linear time scale. A linear time scale on these is where everything is sort of exactly the same spacing, and it makes it feel very dull and mechanical. Okay. So I feel that needs to be there. And when it snaps up, I want it to linger when it snaps up the first time, which means I'm going to move these frames back. So you can see the difference in time here is about double or so. Now it's still a little much, so I'm actually going to increase the time scale on the first snap. And then again, I'll move that 2 places and see. All right, and now I want it to recoil quite slowly when it gets there. So you can see we're increasing our time scale in between the keyframes here to express a diminishing momentum. There we go. That seems to have a bit more life to it. Okay. So we have a sense that it's hit, and then it feels like something's trying to burst out. What I actually want now is for the lid to start opening a little bit as it's rattling there. Okay? And that will be the last detail that we put in for today. You see how that slams shut? So I actually, you can see where the keyframe starts. So that's where we start opening the lid, but I actually want the lid to open a little. So you can see our time scale here. I'm actually going to give it that much space, and I'm going to have it, go to my lid, just open it a little. Now let's have a look. So it feels like it's trying to spring open now, as you can see. Turn off the gizmos and just go to this guy. So what I'm going to adjust is the time scale on the earlier part of the animation. I want there to be a stronger impact when it's rattling in the beginning. I'm not happy with that current time scale there. It's hesitating a little bit just there and then snapping forward. I want it to seem like it's hit and then it's rocking because something's trying to break out. But you can see that's where we are with the animation. I'm quite happy with the ending of it, how it sort of snaps back, where it's slowly creaking open, then it snaps back, and then it sort of flops and then comes to a standstill just there. There's one more minor detail that I'd like to adjust here, and that's on this keyframe here. I just want to change the amount that the lid is open. I want the lid to be open just a little more. How about that? There we go. And now I want to do a little bit more detail here. When the lid snaps back, I actually want it to pull the rest of the box with it to express a sense of weight. So then, let's go ahead and do that, shall we? Our impact frame is just here. That's our big impact frame. So our graphics, what I'm actually going to do is a little bit of a trick. I'm actually, let's see here. Let's see, right here. I want to stick to my keyframes. I'm going to help express a sense of momentum, weight, and follow through by actually pulling away from it in the opposite direction. It's cheating a little bit. Ideally, you would have more asynchronous keyframes, but I don't really want to do that. It means putting extra keyframes in there for other parts of the animation. But I'd like to keep this clean and simple for maintenance sake, so it's easier to make adjustments. So what's going to happen is that it feels like as it snaps back, it's sort of spreading the weight of the box, so it flips forward a little bit. Okay. And we want to make sure now that the rotation of the box is actually held in the right place until right when we need it. So we actually want this here. So there you can see it snaps back. And then as the lid comes up, I actually want, let's see, we don't need the scale in there. Let's go ahead. I'm going to make sure I'm using the keyframe now. I'm actually going to roll that back now. There we go. And I'm just sort of looking how it sits on the ground. Very good. So now it's going to feel a little bit more powerful when it opens. So it snaps back. You can see it pushes the box forward. The lid snaps back and it pulls the chest back a little bit. There we go. And I just want the last little bit of momentum and power in there. I'm actually going to pull that forward again a bit, but this time we're going to make it a little less because that helps communicate the idea of diminishing momentum. Okay, but there's just enough movement in there to make it interesting. Also, this should occur over a longer time scale as opposed to here, which again helps sell the idea of momentum changing over time. All right, there we go. So I'm actually looking at this here, right, and see how it's leaning forward a little too early. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm just going to copy these frames, and I'm going to save it right until the very end, so it gives that rocking motion, just that last extra bit of power. Right, so you can see now these keyframes are the same, so it's waiting until it gets right to the end, then it snaps back and pulls forward a little bit. I actually want to increase the amount that it rotates to help express the idea of force and power. There we go. And now let's play our animation in full. And there we go. So I'm going to spend a little bit more time adjusting the early part of the animation, but the ending and the follow-through, I'm quite happy with that. And so I'm going to have that to where the object of whatever reward you get will pop out. There'll be some particle effects and flashing and whatnot. So there we go. I hope that animation is fun and satisfying for you to look at, and I hope you had fun following along. And if you are also a Unity user and a developer, I hope this has been useful to you, especially if you do your own animations and it's something you enjoy spending time on. And anyway, that was quite a bit of fun for me. I apologize again for the hiccup in the middle and for the spider that almost jumped on my face, but it looks like he's happy and crawling around and eating all them little mosquitoes for me. So happy holiday season to you. Of course, I'm not going to ask you to like or subscribe, but what I will ask you to do is for you to take care of yourself, to look after yourself, and be happy. Have a great holiday season. Make sure to spend great time with your friends and family and loved ones, and check in again soon. I'll try to get some more interesting and fun videos for you. So until next time, take care.